Hey everybody, welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the biggest game yet that is getting delayed to Dodge Grand Theft Auto 6 and what to expect from Summer Game Fest, which is going to put us out of commission on the show for the rest of the week after today's show, everybody. So let's make it a good one, which it will be because we have Lex Luddy on the show. Lexi, how are you doing?
I'm not doing too bad. I'm celebrating two family birthdays at the moment. My brother was yesterday and my mom's today, so shout outs to them. It's been nice to hang out with those folks, and they're pretty great. So happy birthday to them.
Excellent. Yeah, happy birthday. The extended Luddy family. Yeah, that's fantastic. When you said you had two family birthdays, I like talk about your two families, your family and your secret family.
Yeah, my family and my secret family. My secret family is Giant Bomb. I was talking about Turbo Sean.
Hey, oh yeah, happy birthday again to Turbo Sean. It's his birthday every week. Absolutely.
Did I tell you that I really upset Turbo Sean this weekend?
No, I mean, it's not hard to do. but what'd you do?
I recommend. I know it's his first time out at SGF, and he'll be experiencing the wonders of the Keeley food that they provide. They provide you the tickets, and you go up and you're like, I want a burrito, and they give you a burrito, or I want a Sonic milk thing, and they give you a Sonic milk thing or whatever.
The RFK's inverted pyramid. Yeah, that's what you're describing. Yeah.
And so I told him to order the Lexi special, which is what I got one of the days that I was at SGF, where I think they misunderstood either my accent or what I said, or they just looked at how white I was and were like, this is what you actually want. And they gave me a burrito with nothing but rice and salsa in it.
Okay. Yeah, that's that we coined boy salad with nachos. That's a whole other kind of just alternative food there. Yeah, look, they are doing their best. Those food
totally.
Trucks.
I was like, I wasn't going to complain, and I ate the whole thing because I was fucking hungry. And Sean was like, this goes against my culture, and I had to break it to him, like, but the other half of your culture, it's deeply in tune with.
Yeah, okay, and that's what upset him. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's proud that he can handle that Mexican food for sure. Handle it, of course he can. But you really, you've kind of just knocked me off my moors over here because I can't stop thinking about Sonic being milked now, and that's what they're serving at SGF. Keeley insists on it. Yeah. That's a disgusting image that just won't go away, and I'm ruined. All right, actually, SGF is coming up. I know you're not coming this year. Good. Don't come to the United States. Don't do it this year. But we got plans to just kick back at home, watch everything, comment online. What are your plans?
Yeah, honestly, the main problem with not going is that everything's on at 2 a.m. And the Giant Bomb live show starts at 4 a.m. for me. So I will try to be around and awake for at least some of those things. I will try to be in chat when GB at Night is on for at least some of it. But I will also be trying to get a little bit of sleep because I've been a little bit sick the last few weekends. So I need to catch up on rest. I'm actually going up to Dublin Wednesday to meet up with some game developers. So that'll be nice. But yeah, it's weird not going, but also, yeah, you couldn't make me go to the US right now if you tried.
Yep. Smart. We'll try to get things figured out over here so everyone can return one day. We'll see. We're also doing our best, which isn't very good. All right, let's explain ourselves. We're Giant Bomb. Go to giantbomb.com and /join, become a premium member. If you do, you're going to be supporting independent games media. We really appreciate it. It goes a long way toward ensuring we can keep doing things the way we want to do it, the way you want it. We try to keep up and cover gaming news here, but then we also just want to do our own silly, dumb things. And we can do that because we are independent, because we have you all at our back. Thank you so much. It's going to get you ad-free versions of our shows. It's going to get you premium exclusive shows right now, ongoing through the next few weeks, next couple of weeks at least. It's going to get you early access to Bully, the endurance run. It's worth it. And again, it just gives you those warm fuzzies of knowing that you're supporting independent games media. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with that news that broke late last week. Fable delayed to February 2027. Xbox has confirmed. This is from Adam Hales at Windows Central. Despite numerous affirmations that Fable was indeed coming this year, Matt Booty has unfortunately confirmed in a new Xbox podcast that the game has been delayed. In the podcast, Booty states, "We talked about Forza Horizon 6 and how the team at Playground is doing really well. Also doing really well on Fable. The game is in great shape. The team feels really good. We're excited about where the game is. We want to make sure that the game has a window all its own, so we are going to move it from this fall to February. And again, we really just want it to have its own moment to shine. And related to Fable, we will be seeing more of it in the showcase. So we're going to have plenty of people to see it or whatever, blah, blah, blah." Okay, yeah, I mean, this one just felt like... I mean, I'll tell you what. When this got announced, more people than ever, I think, were saying, "Hey, cool, good."
Yeah.
Not just like, "Oh, this game needs more time." It's beyond that now. I think everyone's like, they're not even saying they need more time. They're just saying they want to give it a chance to succeed away from Grand Theft Auto 6. And then I think a lot of people who were saying, "Oh, good, yeah, put it to next year," are saying, "Yeah, even if I don't care about Grand Theft Auto 6, I have 5 to 6 other games that I'm going to be playing in that time frame anyhow. I don't need another one coming along late in the year to add to that pile." That pile's not going to go away magically on December 31st. But still, this does feel like it's a good move for a game that seemed like it was destined to come out after Grand Theft Auto in those few weeks between that and Christmas. And it probably just wasn't going to be very good for Fable, right?
Yeah, Xbox, despite being a company which exclusively seems to operate on not learning lessons, surely must have learned some lessons from the back-to-back soft sales of Avowed and Outer Worlds, because both of those games did
Indiana
not
Jones
sell
last December or whatever it was. Yeah.
Both of those games did not sell as well as they probably should have when you look at them. Outer Worlds in particular, they had the whole fucking stuff with trying to raise that thing's price to $80, which was just fucking nuts that they tried to make that the game that they did that with first. Yeah, I mean, did you watch any of this podcast?
No.
It's weird. It's like a 12-minute podcast, which I get. Of course, they're going to highly edit it. But, there's about a minute of the podcast dedicated to, "Hey, Matt, so how you doing?" I'm like, I don't care. I really don't. I really don't care how Matt Booty's doing.
Tell me about the booty.
You're right. They should rename the podcast. They should only talk about how Matt is doing and rename the podcast Booty Call.
Yeah, I mean,
and that
it's just right.
Then I would actually listen to it. But this seemed like they have a busy enough schedule for the end of this year. And you look at it, it's not even just Xbox games; it's third-party games that they're competing against. It would be one thing if it was Xbox games and they could shuffle those around, bit more as they want. But some of these games they just can't move. They mentioned Control Resident and Star Wars Galactic Racer alongside Grand Theft Auto 6. I don't really think those are necessarily the biggest hitters in the world, but there's still stuff that they have to move around that they can't move themselves. And if there was one of these games which I bet could do with as much time as possible, it is that Fable game. And also, I think an early 2027, that kind of Capcom zone suits Fable pretty well when it's quiet and people have come off of Game of the Year and people are excited about, playing games again, and Keeleys have just happened and Christmas has just happened and people are excited about what games can be and all of this. There's some amount of positive feeling towards the games industry in January and February nowadays every year.
Oh yeah.
So I think that kind of window makes sense for them, for if they want to put out a big game that people, it's in a franchise that hasn't been around for a while, so anyone buying it will feel like they are taking a risk by buying it. They feel like, I don't know what this is going to be, if it's going to be good or not. And so it makes sense. But, I don't know. All of this seems very predictable and like, yeah, of course. It's not surprising.
Yeah, I mean, I a few weeks back I was hearing, the game's being delayed to later in 2026, and I just like couldn't help you like, yeah, they're probably gonna get delayed to 2027, right? Because it's just like as soon as you hear that, I think everyone had the same thought. So it wasn't some spectacular prediction. It was just like, yeah, I mean, later in the year, it's already saying autumn. Later would mean November or December. Well, we all know no way in God's green earth was this thing going to come out around Grand Theft Auto 6. So it just meant December. And once you're in December, what's the difference between December and January, February? There's one difference. It's like you can be before Christmas, but we see that doesn't mean a lot always for December releases. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
December did not help Indiana Jones,
It didn't. Yeah, not really. And it's like if you aren't before Black Friday, like it's like, you kind of already missed one of the bigger boats. So yeah, pretty easy to kind of put two and two together there. And now here we are. People are like maybe a little annoyed because right after I was saying that, the studio was saying, hey, you're gonna get to play this game in autumn. And it's like, yeah, I bet that still was the plan up until very recently. And now they get to get its own window, and the game gets a little bit more time in the oven, which just can't hurt these days. Every game that seems to really seem to help out Bond, right? 007 got an extra six-ish months in the oven, and that game came out much more refined than I was expecting. So yeah,
and considering how hot that game came in, also,
yes, right.
It seems like they were actively using that time, and like, unless you're playing on, if you're not playing on PC, you might not know this. There's like PC graphics settings, including path tracing, that they're like, yeah, we're gonna add that in a month's time. So that's how short the runway was they literally ran out of runway for certain features, which they've been using in the marketing. Like path tracing was a big NVIDIA co-marketing point that they were talking about with this game. So like, yeah, that, and again, that game gave off the vibe of, if we delay out of the date that we have right now, we may as well delay it to 2027. And in IO's case, I don't think they could have done that because they're an independent studio.
Yeah,
and
it's already so expensive. And so, yeah, I mean, we just heard from a reporter, like I think a news report from the country of origin, which I can't remember. Are they in Denmark? I can't remember. I'm sorry. They were saying that game, 7 years, $200 million. And so, yeah, okay. Well, I'm glad it's doing very well, but man, that's just what games are these days. And, Microsoft can afford it. And it's like, you do the math and it's like, we'll delay it. Every day you delay it is a delay that costs, is a day that costs more money. We got to pay the studio and we're not making any money on it. But not being next to Grand Theft Auto 6 sort of pays for itself in some ways. All right, let's shift gears over to here to U.S. legislation. In California, a U.S. bill that would keep games playable after being shut down passes its first vote. This is from Elijah Gonzalez at Polygon. The Stop Killing Games movement is finally starting to gain traction in the United States. The California Assembly recently passed the Protect Our Games Act by a bipartisan vote of 43-16, with the bill having passed the California's legislative branch, which is the state equivalent of Congress. It will move to the state Senate for a committee debate in June. The Stop Killing Games movement's YouTube page offered the following description of what the legislation would mean. The bill would require video game companies to give players advance notice before shutting down server-dependent games and provide a way to keep purchased games playable afterward, such as offline access, community servers, or another workable option. It should be noted that this would only apply to purchased games, meaning free-to-play titles seemingly wouldn't fall under the legislation. If it were to pass, it would only apply to games released after January 2027. Assemblymember Chris Ward from San Diego announced the news, explaining that the bill is fighting for your consumer protection and full right and enjoyment of these games. This continues to me to be like, when I hear the industry go, oh, this is untenable, it's unworkable, and saying nothing about it sounds that way to me. I'm sure it sounds like it might cost you a little bit extra, but honestly, what it sounds like it will cost you is just a little bit of forethought, just a little bit of thinking about the game that you're putting out there and what its long-term viability will be, and maybe just making a couple of different choices to ensure that something in the game is still going to work so people who spent money on it can have some sort of enjoyment from it. And if the law is maybe a little bit more drastic than that and forces these companies to do even more, so be it. Like, figure it out. I just don't think that someone paying for something and then that thing continuing to work is something that should be like, oh, well, we just can't do that. Nah, I think we probably should, Lexi. What do you think?
Yeah, the one bit of this I'm curious about, and I'd be interested to read over the actual legislation to see if there's provisions in for it, is games that make the movement from paid to free to play. Like, right. That's not an uncommon thing. Destiny is probably the highest profile example where that game was a $60 game at launch, and then after several years it moved into the free to play realm and it went to expansions and things like that. So yeah, like, I'm curious. This stuff is also, it's complicated because, like, I'm not sure if you saw the Stop Killing Games stuff coming out of the EU, but there were folks talking to the EU about this, and, like, turns out guy who got up there, super, like, anti-woke, like, it's also woke that is destroying video games. I was like, okay, yeah, like, I am all in favor of Stop Killing Games. The problem is, as a decentralized movement, they extremely do seem to have a problem with actually having consistency in who is out there speaking about it. Because, like, not even just from, like, hey, I think this guy is a dirtbag for trying to throw progressives under the bus, as, like, these are the people actually ruining games, but because, like, that's not how you build a stable political movement. If you have people who are very clearly from the opposite end of the spectrum trying to poison pill their agenda into your legislation that you're trying to push forward globally in all these different regions, it's not going to end well. It's not going to be a cohesive movement. And you've seen that over the years with, like, all of these different wide-scale social movements, is that as soon as they get co-opted by someone with an interest that overrides the original interest, then it just becomes a poison pill issue. It becomes like, well, this is a populist movement, and we can push our agenda more if we latch onto this populist movement and we start, like, also tacking on a bunch of, like, and also they won't hire too many gay people when they make the video games. But you know, that is a problem for Stop Killing Games as a movement to figure out. I'm not sure if the appetite is actually there for them to figure it out, because from everything I've seen, they are a very laissez-faire is the wrong word because they've been very active in it, but they have been very
decentralized.
Yes, they've been very Steam-like in their kind of like, moderation isn't our job, you know? So I just wonder if that hunger is there.
Yeah, and it's like, I do think it's like, that's why when I see what's happening in California as like a pretty good sign, because it's already pushed past what would matter from that, like, the opportunity for someone to, like, latch onto that and to cause that sort of problem has already passed in California, at least. And if this law passes in California, it effectively passes worldwide. It's very similar to the EU. California is, one of the top 10 economies on its own in the world. Companies are not going to have different versions for California versus the rest of the world, so they will just have to abide by this. So it's like, okay, yeah, they've already pushed past this problem, and the ownership that anyone from Stop Killing Games might have over this is also sort of, that baton's being passed. It's now in, up to the legislator, and if they can, all they really got to do is, like, kind of keep the pressure on to make sure it can actually pass the Senate, and then the people actually speaking for it will be the people actually who have been elected in California, and that's mostly a good thing here at this point, because these movements are such a problem. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Sorry to interrupt you. Huge breaking news here. So Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast have announced that Felix the Cat is coming to the game.
Finally! Oh man!
All the kids are talking about Felix the Cat. They're saying the one IP that could topple the Final Fantasy collab was Felix the Cat.
It's upon us, everybody. You've been asking about it nonstop, and I've been trying to get answers for you. Well, here it is, finally confirmed. Felix the Cat. There was a Felix the Cat game for
NES game.
NES, yeah, and even then it was like, who? So I guess I knew Felix the Cat, like, existed, but it was like, already it felt so old at that point. Felix the Cat is one of those that I was like, oh, that will never come back, and now here we are.
Somewhere Mike Minotti just shot up out of bed awake. I'm assuming he's still in bed.
Yeah, and definitely a Felix the Cat fan. We know that. All right, let's see here. Let's hit this next story. Summer Game Fest week begins. It's here, everybody. The PlayStation State of Play is tomorrow. SGF, the presentation is on Friday. The Xbox event is on Sunday, and then rumors are Nintendo Direct the week after that. Very soon after that. So yeah, the Sony State of Play, that's Tuesday, June 2nd. 60 minutes of updates, new games. It's going to open with Marvel's Wolverine. Begins at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific time. SGF is at 5 p.m. Eastern. That would be 2 p.m. Pacific time as well. That's on Friday. And then the Xbox Showcase is Sunday, June 7th, I believe, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking over all of those, everybody, while we're out there in LA. Well, we'll be home for the State of Play thing tomorrow. But there's also been a lot of kind of leaks or early confirmations, a bunch of stuff. So let's kind of go over those, and then we'll talk about what people should expect from Summer Game Fest, Lexi. Chronos Lazarus. IGN appeared to have accidentally listed Chronos Lazarus as part of IGN Live, which runs June 6th through June 7th. My Nintendo News frames it as an unannounced game that IGN revealed too early, possibly related to Bluebird Team's Chronos survival horror IP. I would assume that is exactly what it is, although it feels like a little bit early. What do you think that actually is?
It could be like a standalone DLC or an expansion for Chronos, the New Dawn. I like that game. I liked Chronos more than most people. I think me and Jeff Bacala were like the two people that finished it, but I enjoyed
Chronos people. Yeah, that's what they refer to you as. Yeah. And then there's all these Rayman leaks, which seems all but confirmed at this point. Rayman Origins Enhanced Edition. Wario 64 spotted Rayman Origins Enhanced Edition on the Xbox Store for Xbox Series X and S. It's got a $2,000 placeholder price, which is fun. And then it's going to have...
Ubisoft also got the note that people were raising prices, and in a very Ubisoft-like move, just took it way too fucking far, man.
They're beating the rest of the market to the next price. Yeah, it's got 4K, 60 frames per second, 4-player co-op, and quality of life improvements. And then there's Rayman Legends Retold, which is, the subtitle is not Enhanced Edition there. It seems like they're doing two different things with these things, but who knows? That is coming October 1st, 2026. The price is $40. There will be physical editions reportedly limited to PS5 and Switch 2. Call of Duty Black Ops and Black Ops 2 Remastered. MP First reports that the original Call of Duty Black Ops and Black Ops 2 were rated in South Korea. This usually points to some kind of re-release or remaster. This has happened before. They did this with Modern Warfare, and then when they did that, Modern Warfare Remaster came out not long after. Persona 4 Revival.
Christopher Maloney.
Yeah, but we need
3.
Give him even bigger cake this time. Just show off his booty.
I do gotta say, this smacks of desperation to try to clean up the Black Ops brand after just how fucking dire 7 was and how it was received. This is like, this gives off the vibe of like, no, you like the numbers, right? You like, we're bringing back the numbers. Remember the numbers, Mason?
The numbers, Mason? I think you're probably right, and that this is probably part of a long-term project or middle-term project to you're right, clean up that name and get people ready for Black Ops again, because Black Ops is very, very important to them. I mean, they keep going back to Modern Warfare. They keep going back to Black Ops. They're not done. I know they said they're going to try to do other stuff. I mean,
they could always change tact and move over to Ghosts 2. That game
Ghosts 2. Finally. I would play Ghosts 2. I want to see what they would do with that dumb shit.
Somehow it's even more racist.
Well, they can always find a way. We'll talk about Call of Duty stuff here in a second, because I just don't get the fandom for those games anymore. Persona 4 Revival, that was also rated in South Korea. Games Radar pointed out, did like a helpful thing here, pointing out previous games that have been mentioned by them: Gears of War E-Day, Castlevania's Belmont's Curse, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy for Switch 2, Lego Skylines. All of those seemingly are going to be announced one way or another at Summer Game Fest, or maybe that Nintendo Direct. I'm excited about most of those. Guardians of the Galaxy getting a native version for Switch 2. It probably just pops up at Nintendo, at the Nintendo Direct and stuff like that.
That game rules. Play that game.
Yep.
It's really good.
And do you remember do we have a release date for Castlevania Belmont's Curse, or is that?
I don't think so,
Yeah.
but I would be very curious to get one.
Yeah, that, and also I would be curious to get one for Ace Combat 8 Wings of Thief, which is one of my most anticipated games. So hopefully we get some more information about that. But okay, that's the stuff that's like swirling out there. What are your expectations for SGF? Kind of just from hey, what would be fun if that got announced, or what these companies are trying to accomplish with these events?
I think it's going to feel like a very busy show purely because so many companies have dates that they need to get off their books because everyone was waiting for confirmation that Grand Theft Auto wasn't going to move again. And now that it's kind of been confirmed and locked in and they've said to their investors, like, no, we're not moving again, I think everyone's going to be like, okay, after the races, we can now set our actual dates and start planning things. So I do think we're going to see a lot of release dates at this show. I'd love like 1 or 2 genuine surprises. I don't know how likely that is, and maybe there'll be something genuinely surprising at that state of play. Maybe some actual surprises at the direct if that happens. But I don't know what to expect when it comes to like new things at the moment. When I look at a lot of companies like the first party companies, and I look at the studios that they have on their books, a lot of them are kind of accounted for in a lot of ways. And I'm like, what else could these companies be working on?
Yeah.
Other than like outsourced projects like Oblivion Remastered or something. So, maybe another one of those high profile remasters from one of those first party companies.
Yeah, I feel like, now that we kind of have a pretty good sense the Ocarina of Time remix can happen, Nintendo probably has one other holiday game that they could surprise us with. Who knows what that would be? Or if it even is a thing, maybe it's not. But you're right when it comes to Xbox and PlayStation. I guess maybe it's a similar thing where it's like maybe one surprise, but there just doesn't feel like there's a lot of capacity for a lot more than that. But again, we could be surprised. Okay, then from the other perspective here of, all right, we'll get excited about games, but these companies are going into this after a bunch of price increases with Grand Theft Auto 6 on the horizon. What do you think like Microsoft and Sony need to get out of Summer Game Fest, or is this just, kind of business as usual?
I think they need to find a way to convince anybody to keep buying this stuff at its new prices, which I wouldn't. I wouldn't buy any of these products at their increased prices because they're not worth that amount of money. Like they're old tech and charging more for it. Like there is almost zero use cases where I would recommend somebody go out and buy a PS5, a PS5 Pro, any of the Xboxes, and like even a Switch 2 at this point. I'm like, it's a hard fucking recommend, even though that console
$500 still expensive.
Even though it's pretty new, it's a hard recommend. And so, like, Xbox and PlayStation especially have a real mountain of a task to get people excited for the software, if not the hardware, because the hardware is going to slow down no matter what. And the software they can at least kind of work with. They can try to really reinvigorate people of like, no, like you have these consoles already. What if you bought more games on them? And that when people have less money, that's also a big ask. So I don't know how these companies go about getting people excited enough to spend money right now. Because right now, nobody's excited to spend any money. Nobody wants to spend a single dollar on anything because they know that they're going to need that dollar for something down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, someone pointed out The Verge had a story this morning about, like, that kind of saying what you were saying, that they need to prove themselves. Do you think that puts them in a position maybe where like the Sonys and the Microsofts, even Nintendo, are going to maybe overextend, overpromise, maybe like lift the lid off, like they have a bucket full of games that are coming out 2+ years from now, and they like pull a couple extra things out of that bucket to be like, look at how many exciting things are coming to this platform. Is there a chance for that?
Both of these companies just burnt their hand by doing that recently. Sony announced all these live service games, and then that backfired, and Xbox had all their high-profile cancellations of, like, Perfect Dark was probably meant to come out this year or next year at some point, and fucking that's not happening, and that was announced way earlier because they were trying to reinvigorate and get people excited about the brand again. So, like, how many times do you make that same mistake of announcing something early and then having to cancel it and ruining any goodwill that you built up? Like, I don't know, like, yeah, ultimately, I wouldn't want to be the person who has to solve these problems, but also it's not my job to solve these problems. It's my job to, like, consume these products and, you know, engage with them as a art form and things like that. And right now, the vibes ain't great for doing that.
There was a rumor, I think, over the weekend that Star Wars Eclipse is like pretty far along and could happen soon. Do you buy that?
No.
Me neither. Why don't you buy it though?
Pass.
I saw that and I was like, I might be doing the show with Lexi later. I want to just kind of get her vibes on that. Yeah, they're very similar. I was just like, okay.
I will say, like, that team doesn't seem like they scaled up properly to be a 2-studio team, and they just worked on a multiplayer game that is now shutting down.
Which is now shutting down, exactly.
And so that seemed like it was a real boondoggle for them. And so even if they were pretty close to the end of development, I'm guessing they're having to shift a lot of people and change workflows. Like, I don't buy that game being super close.
All right, well then let me get your similar sort of reaction to just a couple of others. State of Decay 3, does that show up here in your opinion?
I would love it to, if only because I was talking to Brad Shoemaker the other night, and literally anytime I engage with that man, I wind up going, I wonder if State of Decay 3 is coming out soon. Every single time I see, I listen to any of the Nextlander podcasts and Brad talks about anything, I'm like, I wonder how he'll feel about State of Decay 3.
That's the State of Decay guy, yeah.
Yeah, it's his Bubsy, which honestly, way better branding than Bubsy.
Yeah, he figured it out. I fucked up somewhere along the way. I think it's time for State of Decay 3. Okay, Hideo Kojima's OD.
That's an interesting one. I bet Kojima would love to garner back a bit of goodwill after the last few weeks. So maybe he'll have something. And he makes a point of having a trailer at nearly every show at this fucking point. So, or at least having something, having a port or having something. So if it's not OD, it is, I bet we get confirmation of Death Stranding 2 coming to something else. I don't know, it already came to PC and they're not going to bring it to Xbox now because it's now Sony published. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm curious, but I'm sure he will find a reason to have a presence there.
Judas from Ken Levine.
Nope.
Let's see here. Do I have a couple others? Oh man, there's some that like I had on a list here that like no, I know that. I know what happened. That got canceled.
The degree to which Judas won't be at the show probably bigger than any of the other games that we've mentioned.
The most games never been at a show ever is what people are saying. Everyone. All right. Well, we'll have another chance to talk about this. I'll ask the guys on Bombcast tomorrow what they think about some of these and maybe more. But now let's take a quick break. We have other headlines to get to, but we are going to get to them after these messages. If you want to skip out on these, go to giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member, get the ad-free versions of the show there. We will be right back. All right, we're back. It's Game Mess Mornings. That's Lexi Luddy. I'm Jeffrey Grubb. Lexi, I did see someone say Splinter Cell. You think Splinter Cell shows up?
Ubisoft is becoming such a impossible thing to predict because
agreed.
It's like, I don't know, they have all these things in production and any of them could be cancelled no matter how far along in production are. Or they could just announce, like, we're making another Division mobile game that will never launch. Assassin's Creed Jade still hasn't come out somehow. All these different things. Like, I have no idea how to pin anything down with that company anymore.
Yep, I feel the exact same way. All right, let's do this next one. Xbox will show PS5 logos at Showcase, but may adjust moving forward as execs publicly contradict each other. This is from Sammy Barker at Push Square, who kind of like goes over that. I think did this come from that podcast as well? It came from Chief Content Officer Matt Booty, who said about having PlayStation and Nintendo logos in
Grubb, can I just say,
yeah,
Booty having the same title as Dan, very funny.
To me, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, they were talking about, hey, like PlayStation logos and Xbox showcases. That's weird. And he says, well, we'll be very clear about what platforms a game is coming to and want to continue that precedent. I think we've got a good system going where we make it clear in the showcase. Then later, separately, and as they write over here at Push Square, in a genuinely bizarre twist, new Xbox CEO Ashish Sharma has completely contradicted colleague Matt Booty's comments earlier in the day, describing them as a miss. Booty had said during an Xbox podcast that Microsoft would be very clear about which platforms games are coming to, and that it wants to continue the precedent it set previously. This means if a game is coming to the PS5, Microsoft won't obfuscate that information. Sony and Nintendo only ever talk about their own platform during live streams, but they generally haven't flirted with multi-format publishing to the extent Microsoft has. Responding to the aggrieved fans on Twitter, which is just a good thing to do with your job. That's a good way to spend your time. Sharma described that as a miss, saying, seeing the feedback on logos, it was a miss and I own it. We are talking about how we adjust for future Xbox shows. I'm not entirely convinced Sharma should be following the feedback of a few fans on social media to quite this extent, but here we are. Yeah, I think that's kind of what we're all thinking a little bit. Look, to me, this is a very stupid thing because this is just not anything that matters. Like, and it's kind of aside to the conversation. Like, are these games coming to PlayStation or not? And if they are, what the fuck does it matter if the logo's in there in the Xbox showcase? That's a series of commercials, not the content itself. So people
you're gonna have to put in the press release anyway. Like,
you're gonna have to put it in the press release. It's gonna be on the Wikipedia page. It's going to be a fact that just exists. Like, this is just like so far downstream from the thing that actually matters. And it just does not seem like they've clicked over to be like, well, yeah, and now these games aren't coming to PlayStation. It is more like, no, Halo Campaign Evolved's coming to PlayStation 5, but we might not just tell you about it. Like, what are you talking about? How do you read this?
I know, this new Xbox administration seems so desperate for goodwill in a way that I can't help but just be like, have some fucking self-respect. Come on.
have some dignity.
Even if I have my problems with the Xbox brand and Microsoft as an ecosystem, and I've made those pretty clear over the years, I at least don't want you embarrassing yourself like this on a personal level. Like, you don't need to be replying to Xbox Poon Gamer 24 every time he puts out every time he puts out a post on Twitter being like, I'm mad that they're not bringing back Fusion Frenzy. And they're like, we hear you and we understand and we're bringing back Fusion Frenzy. And you know, it gives off such a desperate vibe compared to
weird
how they should be acting right now. And also, like, one of the few things that people actually want from a new Xbox administration change, and it seems like every single administration of Xbox has struggled with this, is clarity and message. Like, it's straight up, it's going back to the days of executives giving different answers at the Xbox One reveal of like, what do you mean these two totally opposite things are apparently true? What the fuck are you talking about? It just seems so disconnected, and it doesn't bode well for them, and it doesn't look good for them on any level.
Yeah, and to me, it gives the sense that they are saying these things while internally figuring out answers to a lot of their questions that will be very different, and that this stuff just doesn't actually matter to the reality of the decision making process that is actually going to happen once things settle down and they get, you know, data to make decisions based off of and money to make decisions based off of. Like, hey, we'll make more money if we do it this way. Well, then fuck Xbox Poon Gamer 69 or whatever their name was. Yeah, so it just like feels like a way to kind of keep the vibes good while they come up with the real solutions, which will have nothing to do with any of this.
Some of the knee-jerkness seems so strange to me because they're going to have to change it again for the new Xbox if it is truly an open Windows machine. Like, you think about the Game Pass tiers that they've added. How will that make, like, they still have Xbox Gold in some way. You still have to pay to play online on Xbox.
Right.
And if this new thing is just a PC that you can boot into Windows, will you be finding a way to charge me to play online with my Windows computer? Because that would be fucking nuts.
Yep.
So yeah, like there's actual legitimate questions that need answering, and turns out these aren't one of them.
Yep. It's and yeah, and we don't really know to what extent it's going to be open or not. But if Steam and Epic Game Store are on there, that's open enough. And I guess maybe it could just be a thing, Lexi, where it's like, oh, activate your Steam account on here, and then if you own the games on Steam, you can play them on here. There's some sort of like expanded play anywhere, and that's what it looks like. But I don't know. That's not. I don't know. That's not exciting. I don't know. That's just weird.
Yeah.
But that's not really what they were kind of promising early on. We'll see. Well, we're not going to see it at Summer Game Fest. They said they will not be talking about Project Helix at this event. And yeah, that makes sense. All right. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 promises no more Clowny skins. This is from Kenneth Shepard at Kotaku.
Speaking of desperation.
Modern Warfare 4 is coming out later this year, and despite the series ostensibly being a very serious military shooter, its multiplayer modes, like those of many other shooters in the modern age, have become a dumping ground for crossover skins and other goofy nonsense over the years. However, Activision and Infinity Ward are saying up front that they won't be including any Clowny skins in the upcoming game, and that we can keep the receipts in case they change their tune a few months after launch. Modern Warfare 4 was officially unveiled last week, and the messaging has been that Infinity Ward wants this year's Call of Duty to be more grounded. Boots on the ground is back, everybody, and anchored in the game's narrative. Despite this, fans and detractors are skeptical, given that Call of Duty has become another victim of the Fortnite-ification of shooters, full of out-of-place crossover skins, like animated characters Beavis and Butthead. The team has responded to these concerns on Twitter, swearing up and down that Modern Warfare 4 won't include any of that noise at launch or in seasons beyond, as well as specifying there will be no skins for Lady Gaga, Omni-Man, Teletubbies, or SpongeBob down the line. It's worth noting that Call of Duty has previously tried to excise some of these crossover skins from future entries by not letting skins carry over from Black Ops 6 to last year's Black Ops 7, citing negative player feedback as a key factor. Also, it would encourage people to buy new skins. Like, that's maybe the real reason. Okay. Man, I saw a post of this on maybe like was a r/gaming or something like that. Maybe it was the Call of Duty subreddit. I don't know. And it was like a realistic cat, like anthropomorphic cat. And I'm like, that looks pretty dope. And the comments are just like, never in my Call of Duty. It's so serious. And I just look, I get that some people want to be immersed, but I don't know. I don't get immersed because I'm just different. I think it's fun that SpongeBob is in these games, and it does not detract me if I see someone else in a skin, or does not detract from my fun if I see someone else in a skin that I don't personally enjoy. This just feels like this fandom going like, we got to shrink it down and keep all that stuff out because that's fun, and we don't allow that here. I know it's more. There's more to it than that, but I just kind of I get bad vibes from this whole thing. Lexi, what do you think?
So something that always comes up with this is like, oh, why don't these people just go play Arma or go play an actual tac sim of some kind? And I would love to see like the scientific study or the paper written about the people who call for realism in their arcade shooters.
Yeah.
And the psychology behind that. Because, listen, not to get on a high horse or anything, there's like a whole like politics element to this that I think is very fascinating to me if you start analyzing it too much. But from a more lighthearted point of view, I'll just say I came up with a drinking game to kill myself during SGF, and I posted it on Blue Sky. It's take a shot every time someone at Microsoft, Activision, or Infinity Ward says the word gritty or grounded. And takes 2 shots if they say visceral. Yep.
You're gonna die. You're gonna die because that's all they're gonna be saying about this game. It like
they won't say boots on the ground because we made fun of that too much.
Exactly. No, these are all code words for that same exact feeling. And that's Call of Duty has been around long enough that we can spot these patterns. There was backlash to the last Call of Duty. The fandom now has their opinion on anything that is not just very strictly Call of Duty Modern Warfare from 2007. And they're like, hey, anything that sort of returns it back to that default state is a return to the safe thing here, and that will keep this fandom at least from tearing us apart. Yeah, I don't know.
I'll make my pitch here while I'm on the show. If you're a reviews editor, let me review this game. I reviewed the last one.
Yep, I just think that they will probably change their mind on this, if not with this game, with the next one. So, and I don't know, if you're a fan of these games, just get over it. That's all I can really say. Again, I know I'm not being very considerate there, but I think you're right. I think my sort of backlash is I can see through it with a lot of them where it's like, I think what you really mean is you also wouldn't accept women in this game, and anyone that kind of looks different than your idea of a very masculine, macho, big guy, tough guy. And it's like, I
do
miss
like
me with that shit.
Setting your watch to K-pop popping off 5 years ago, and now this Call of Duty game being all about Korea is like, oh guys, like we know that you just do whatever's pop, but like, come on. Yep. And also, listen, that 4, the stylization of the slightly Asian looking 4 is one of the funniest fucking things of like, how do we make it look more Asian?
Right, the meetings that must have gone into that, like, oof, I'm glad I wasn't in the room for those. I probably would have, my head would have exploded. All right, let's keep going here. Hollow Knight Silksong Physical Edition announced for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and Switch 2. This is from Sal Romano at Gamatsu. Fangamer has announced a physical edition of Hollow Knight Silksong for PS5, Xbox, and Switch. It will launch on October 16th for $39 on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series, and $45 on Switch 2. Pre-orders are available now. The package includes a copy of the game, a reversible cover sheet, a 32-page game manual, and many folded poster. The upcoming expansion, Sea of Sorrow, is not included on the disc/cart, but will be available as a free download when it launches. Additionally, Fangamer has open pre-orders for physical editions of the original Hollow Knight on PlayStation 5 and Switch 2 for $35 and $39 respectively. These also include reversible cover sheet, 28-page game manual, and a poster. I think the Switch version, I want to say that physical editions were previously released on PlayStation 4 and Switch. I think that Switch version is going to be the original game again, but with an option to upgrade it to the Switch 2 if you choose to do so. So you could get this and have both versions. And if you want to have a Switch 2 version, you only have Switch 1 right now, you could just get this and you'll be good. But I'm not seeing that in the story, so maybe that's not exactly how it's going to work. Yeah, this is how these things go these days, Alexi, and I think this is kind of a blueprint for what we're going to see a lot with the next generation, where that I think it's a strong chance that disk drives will be optional. Games will come out, they will be digital first, and then the successful ones will get physical versions later. This is something we've seen a bunch of times now. Hollow Knight Silksong is one of those. It's like they easily could have just had a physical version at launch. It is that big, but at a certain point, you go, why? You could just do it this way, and it will work just as well and serve the markets probably just as effectively as if they went through the headaches of getting a physical version ready to go for the actual launch. Anything more to read into this?
Not too much. I think like you kind of summed up a lot of it. I think we're going to see a lot of this going forward, and I think that like ultimately Silksong and Hollow Knight, for as much as they aren't necessarily for me, I'm glad that they are able to get their flowers like this, and they're able to have these nice additions, and they're able to put a bit of work into stuff like the manual and, you know, the little flourishes that come with doing these full launch or these later launches. It's nice. The one of these that I got that I really liked was the Tunic one.
Sure.
That was real good, and that also came with a little manual thing.
Atari has acquired Crossy Road developer Hipster Whale, which is a name I've not heard in a while. This is from Sophie McAvoy at GamesIndustry.biz. Atari has acquired Crossy Road developer Hipster Whale for over $29 million, with a total potential cost of nearly $40 million. The deal includes an initial payment of that $29.3 million, comprising $26 million in cash and $3.3 million in newly issued Atari ordinary shares. An additional earnout of up to $10 million will be payable in cash over the next 3 years, depending on Hipster Whale's future performance. Atari stated it will use Australian-based developer to expand its mobile development and publishing capabilities. Hipster Whale co-founder Matt Hall is expected to lead the expansion of Atari's mobile development. This is one of those stories, Lexi, where it's immediate, like, oh yeah, this is another one where I see the vision. I just see it. It all makes sense. Atari very much steeping themselves in retro revivals or retro ports.
And Crossy Roads is retro, is what you're saying.
Well, they did Pac-Man 256, which is what I'm saying, which is like, you could take it, and really Crossy Roads is retro in like the original definition of the word, which is take this thing and throw it back to a previous time. And that was a modern take on Frogger, and it had, we'll kind of do like what would modern 3D pixel graphics look like with the voxels and whatnot. So yeah, I expect them to take those concepts and apply it to the entire swath of potential properties that Atari owns, and make various mobile versions on those, or mashups, stuff like Pac-Man 256, which is that idea of, oh, you get to the kill screen of Pac-Man, and now all the dirty, messed up code is chasing Pac-Man. You got to outrun it. It's like, oh yeah, that's a cool idea. Atari could do, yeah.
Pongy Road. Pong. How do we make Pong a Crossy Road?
Pongy Road would be just, I want it to like be like an inchworm, the little Pong paddle. I want it to like,
and you're trying to get to a Atari hotel at the end.
That's beautiful. That's the dream. Atari kind of continues to figure this stuff out and do interesting things, and they have done this already with PC and console stuff repeatedly, and they kind of have that market on lock now. So expanding to mobile and doing something similar for a similar audience, but in that space, it's like, yeah, this is one of these teams that I think could probably do something that I would even be interested in. And I do think, to be selfish, they should be trying to appeal to me, because I'm the kind of asshole that would spend money on stuff that's like new but old. And they've kind of got me in their crosshairs here with stuff like this. Asus announces a new ROG Xbox Ally, the X20, with a larger OLED screen and improved controls. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. The Xbox Ally was originally released in October 2025. It had two versions, the standard for 600 and the X variant for 1000. The newly released third model, or announced, I should say, the Xbox Ally X20 is designed to celebrate 20 years of Asus's Republic of Gamers brand, and is based on the Ally X, but with some tweaks. It has the same internal specs, but it now has a larger 7.4-inch screen. The original had a 7-inch screen, and an OLED display instead of the IPS screen on the original. It also might come with, the X-Real R1 Edition 20 gaming AR glasses, which are just like those glasses that you could put on and they give you a display in front of you, and you could just plug that into the HDMI port of the ROG Xbox Ally and play stuff like on a plane without having to look down at the screen. Okay, but man, what is this thing going to cost? They have not said, Lexi. We're probably talking $2,000 for this thing, right? I'm
curious. They've been put in a real tough spot because also Computex is on at the moment, so there's a bunch of hardware getting announced, and MSI just announced the Claw 8 EX AI Plus, which is a very long name for the new Intel stuff. Yeah, it has the new Intel Arc integrated graphics on it. And that thing, the numbers that they're putting out are pretty impressive. Obviously, those are internal benchmarks, so there's only so much you can trust them. But they said already that the price is going to be $1,500. So this thing, looking at the specs as it stands, will be significantly more expensive than a Xbox ROG Ally X. It will be more expensive than an Xbox ROG Ally X, but how much more expensive could this X20 be before being more expensive than something that is more performant than-ish? I'm curious about that. But yeah, I don't know, the handheld gaming space is very cool to me from a tech point of view. It's very frustrating to me from the point of view of can't afford any of this shit anymore. I just this weekend I replaced the 64 gigabyte internal SSD on my Steam Deck with something that was bigger than 64 gigabytes, and boy, that was life changing. That was real nice.
Yep. All right. That you mentioned Computex, the RTX Spark Superchip got announced. I didn't have like a chance to like really go over this, but this is basically NVIDIA going, and now we make CPUs in addition to GPUs.
Great.
Feels like a convenient time to do that when more and more questions arising about who they're selling these GPUs to and whether people are actually going to keep buying them at these prices. And are they
Did you watch any of the thing? I stayed up until 4 a.m. and watched the first half of it and then fell asleep with it turned on. Because Jensen's voice just has that soothing effect.
I mean, it's just so soothing, yeah.
But basically, the whole message of the first half of his keynote was literally like, we are not selling to consumers anymore because there's a fixed number of consumers. We're selling to agentic. We're like we're selling to agents because there's technically an infinite number of AI agents.
That's so fucking stupid. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Oh my god, what are you even talking about? You
literally,
fucking lunatics.
Like, listening to him talk, it was the Disco Stew Infinish Profish on Disco thing of like, disco sales are projected to go up forever. And it's like, oh, you fucking dumbass motherfucker. Anyway, like, man, Jensen seems like a guy. Also, one of their slides, and I shit you not, this is true. One of their slides, when he clicked it over, had a ka-ching sound effect.
I mean, here's the thing, is I would love for this whole ARM-based NVIDIA CPU business to work, because it would put the pressure back on AMD to keep getting better. And AMD has been pretty good, but their competition
AMD just announced that they're extending the lifespan of AM4 and AM5, so...
Right, and so that's great for people that are on those platforms, but I do want to keep them to keep pushing forward, because when they do, they are usually recently the ones that can be relied upon to produce CPUs that are going to be fantastic for a very long time. But they need that competition, and it was like, hopefully this is that, and it just doesn't feel like it when they start talking that way. This just seems like it is part of the ongoing Ponzi scheme of what they're trying to pull off with AI, and this is just a new frontier in that. And it's like, again,
if you haven't been keeping up with it, I suggest go subscribing to Gamers Nexus. Just do it. It's very good content and very good research and some of the rare bit of genuine investigative journalism going on in that particular space. So do follow those folks.
Yep, it does make me miss Gordon Ung a ton. He passed away recently in like the last year. He was PC long time CPU coverage guy at PC World, and was like the adult in the room. And man, rest in peace to that guy. Like we're missing a lot of insight when we don't have guys like that anymore. And it's like Gamers Nexus is fantastic, kind of carrying that torch. But he does come from that YouTube world of like, man, we're going to turn these big controversies into our focus and go. And I always felt like Gordon Ung was such a breath of fresh air. I'd be like, let's just step back and like look at this from a historical perspective. And again, we don't have that anymore. All right. Last quick thing before we get out here and start wrapping up the show. The director of Tekken 8 has left Bandai Namco. Yes, the Tekken Kohei Ikeda. He left after 20 years at the company. This is after Harada left not too long ago. So it does feel like the future of Tekken is a little bit more questionable than it even was after Harada left. I don't think this is like spelling doom for that series. In fact, it might be a chance for it to kind of get refreshed in a good way. But it certainly is notable that, oh man, okay, stuff is changing over there when it comes to the future of Tekken. All right, that does it for the headlines.
One last thing. Lucy James just announced that she is leaving GameSpot and launching Looking for Game, an independent weekly newsletter where I highlight upcoming PC games and deliver demo codes straight to your inbox. Sign up at lookingfor.game. Shout out to Lucy. Seems like it's something that she's partnering with Keeley on.
She is,
and player.gg, which I'm not super familiar with. But yeah, good luck to Lucy.
I will be talking to her about her future on the couch this weekend, everybody. I believe they're on Thursday. And then that's the Friends Per Second crew.
Friday.
But Friday. Thank you, Jan. I appreciate that. Yeah, so she'll be on Friday, and we'll be talking about her future. And I'm looking forward to hearing about all the stuff she's got planned for y'all. What was the name of it again, Lexi?
It was looking for -game.
All right, go check it out, everybody. Looking for .game with Lucy.James. All right, let's see here. Let's start wrapping up the show. There is no poll question because we did the Bomb 12 last Friday, but we do have a new poll question we'll get to here in a second. But in the meantime, I will be updating the Bomb 12 link so everyone can vote. We might do some of it, something this week, but it'll be very like just an image that I post online. And if we don't, then we'll kind of catch everything up the week after that. But we'll have a Bomb 12 there on giantbomb.com, so you guys can keep telling us what games you're playing right now. And I'm looking forward to getting that. The new poll question will come right after this. Lexi, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, people can find me on Blue Sky at lex.luddy.xyz. I'm trying to be a bit more proactive about doing some original reporting over there, so if you want to reach out, I have a signal in my profile that you can reach out to confidentially and I can talk to you. I'm also continuing to run startmenu.co.uk, which is a place for people trying to break into games media, and we're trying to make this space healthy and, you know, persistent for a long time to come, and we're trying to train up the next generation to be smart writers and kind of write, you know, empathetically and ethically and all those good things. And you can check out some of my reviews at Gamer Guides. I'm working on a 007 review right now. We didn't get a code until after launch, but hopefully I will have that review up sometime this week.
All right, new poll question. It's already posted. I did an image poll, so I just made it easy for you, Jan. Rules for Summer Game Fest. Your 4 options are kind of a bemused Mike Minotti, just a kind of face plain, then a pretty happy Janichoa, then a very happy Jeff Grubb, or an ecstatic Dan Reichert. I can only have 4 options, so I couldn't fit I want nothing to do with this shit Jeff Baclar in there, but maybe we'll find a use for that after this is all said and done. Go ahead and vote now. Get the results. We'll kind of just see it on there. Maybe I'll bring it up on the Bombcast tomorrow or something, because we won't have another Game Mess mornings until we get back from SGF, everybody. I appreciate everyone rolling with the punches when the schedule goes like this. You know, I know how important it is to have a show like this be consistent, and we're a small team. Sometimes that's just going to be hard when we have to shift gears and be like, we're going to SGF to do coverage there and do cool stuff there. This is just what that means sometimes. So thanks everybody for being so understanding. It kind of makes me feel a little bit less stressed out when I'm like, okay, people are going to be mad that there's not something in their feed. That never happens. You all are very cool about it.
Also, one very small thing I forgot to say during the show. Suck a bag of dicks, Valnet. Anyway.
Yeah, go to hell. Man, just making everything that's worse even worse. That's your one contribution, Valnet. Way to go. All right, let's see here. We have the Bombcast tomorrow. We will be talking over the Sony PlayStation State of Play after that. Then on Wednesday, almost the entire crew is traveling. So we're going to be heading out to LA. Thursday, we're going to be setting stuff up. We might have a couple things popping up here or there, but it will be infrequent. Until Friday, we will be talking over Summer Game Fest. And then very quickly after that, we're going to be set up to do our thing for GB at night, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific. That'll be 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll be going into the night, and then the same schedule will be happening on Saturday. Sunday, we'll be talking over the Xbox show. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to getting out there and doing some work, everybody. So thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in for all that when we make it happen. And thank you, Lexi, for hanging out with me today and talking about video games. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. Always a pleasure, Grubb.
Thank you all for watching and listening. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.